Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
What's going on, everybody? No Jim Coyle right now. Instead, you get John, the producer, and everyone's favorite co-host, Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition, coming off Indiana's, just less than 12 hours off of Indiana's victory over Wyoming in the first four in the NCAA tournament, giving Mike Woodson his very first postseason, not postseason win, but NCAA tournament win as Indiana head coach, more than the last regime got ever because he never participated in it with Archie Miller. But it was a very fun and long day and night yesterday for Hoosier fans. Dustin, I'm sure you were up catching all the action as well. What did you think of last night? How are you doing this morning? Thanks for joining me, first of all. I know this is kind of a last-minute thing. We got Jim Coyle on a flight to Minneapolis. That's why he's not with us. He claims that he's going to be joining us from the plane at some point. I don't know how realistic that is of actually happening. I'm not going to bet on it because it seems like a very not only odd thing to do, but you would be pissing off a lot of passengers.
I was just going to say, I would fear for his life if he decided to join us and try to host a radio show from a flight. And this is speaking from somebody who's been on plenty of flights with a lot of annoying passengers. So I hope he doesn't do that. Also, Mike Woodson, currently the greatest winning percentage in NCAA tournament history all time at perfect 100%. So that's something to talk about. But yeah, that was a let's call it an ugly game. It's probably the nicest word we have for it. But at the same time, I think you saw just how important, and I stressed this a lot throughout the course of the regular season, when you're really good defensively, the old coaching cliche is defense travels. And I think you saw that on Tuesday night because Indiana, through those first 13 minutes especially, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But their defense kept them in that game. And in crunch time, a lot of times Indiana throughout the course of this season, they've lacked a leader. They've lacked somebody to just kind of go and take over that game. And you got it from three different players last night. Trace Jackson Davis was demanding the ball. I thought it was very fitting that he got the last rebound with time still on the clock to secure a double-double. Not that that means anything to him, but I think that's very fitting in his first game with what he meant to the Hoosiers in the Big Ten tournament during their run and kind of solidifying their spot in the NCAA tournament. And then as well as he played last night, I thought that was really awesome for him to get a double-double, 29 points, 10 rebounds. Jordan Geronimo comes off the bench, gives him 15 points, 7 rebounds. And then Xavier Johnson, he struggled at times throughout the night, but still had 10 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. So you had your two leaders, I would say, Trace Jackson Davis and Xavier Johnson step up in a big way. Then you get a little spark from Jordan Geronimo off the bench. And this is March. You take it, right? They didn't play well. But again, this is why defense is so important, especially in March, because if you're a good defensive team, if you're as good as Indiana is defensively, you're going to have a shot to win every game, no matter how poorly you're shooting. And you saw that against Wyoming.
Absolutely. And now, very quick turnaround for this team. They hopped on a plane. It was supposed to be 1 a.m. I believe it got delayed a few hours. They were in the air as of about an hour and a half ago. I'm not sure if they've landed. You would think they would have landed by now based on the amount of time and that kind of stuff. It also looks like Jennifer comments saying thinks they just landed in Portland. They did have plane issues. We were also talking leading up to the show starting about some of these scheduling location issues going on with this year's NCAA tournament. Colorado State had some similar issues, weren't able to leave until, what would you say, it was Monday?
Yeah, so according to Matt Norlander, CBS Sports, Colorado State had no travel plans until early Tuesday morning. And again, I'm the kind of guy, John, that when you get into the NCAA tournament, I don't care. I don't want to hear about seeding. You got to win games.
Absolutely,
so it doesn't matter to me. But now I'm rethinking that position because Colorado's the 6th seed. They don't have travel plans from the NCAA until early Tuesday morning. Meanwhile, Michigan, their opponent, the 11th seed, is up in Indiana, or the game's in Indianapolis. So they get a short bus ride basically to the location. A few years ago, this was supposed to be about if you were the better seeds. I know there's some stipulations here, but to have a home court advantage or play closer to where you are located. So it's just, that's one of the things that, to me, if I was Colorado State or a Colorado State fan, I would be pretty frustrated about right about now.
Another thing, too, with the first 4, you already have to play the extra game. So why punish these teams by, and not only Indiana, it could have been Wyoming as well. Wyoming coming all the way from their state to Ohio, back out west if they were to win last night. Obviously, that's not what's happening. But Indiana still has to get on a plane essentially immediately to get all the way to the other side of the country. And you were saying earlier that it would make much more sense if Dayton were just a permanent, like, first-round site. You have the playing games there, right, and then they stick around for their regionals or for their, I guess, first-round games and second round after that.
Well, and think about this, too. I mean, it's terrible for the players. I mean, I understand this is the first 4. You have to play your way. But, I mean, you're putting them at an extreme disadvantage, in my opinion. The other aspect of this, too, is I would think the NCAA would want as many fans in attendance as possible. There's going to be very few Indiana fans or even Wyoming fans who would have been able to make that trip to Dayton and then fly out to Portland on such short notice. So why not make Dayton a permanent site for those what would end up being first 3 rounds, the first 4, the round of 64, and then the round of 32, or at the very least, incorporate those play-in games. Look, you've had Chicago that's hosted, you've had Indianapolis, Milwaukee, Cleveland. All these places have hosted tournaments. Why would you not make it within a drivable distance? That way Indiana could maybe stay in Dayton or take the short bus ride back to Indianapolis or take it to Chicago or whatever the case might be, or short flight. But you're talking about what's the flight from Dayton to Portland? That's got to be like 5 hours, right? I don't know. So. I've never flown to the far west before, but
we may know if Jim joins us. He may let us know how long he'll be on the airplane.
There you go. But that's the thing. Like, here's the other thing. Again, the NCAA just a few years ago went through the pandemic, didn't make any money off March Madness. There's no way that this is cost effective.
Yeah. Who knows? You go from having everything in one place last year in the state of Indiana. Obviously, there was the COVID reason for that, but it worked so perfectly. Some people, especially locals around here, wish that were the way it was all the time. Obviously, that wouldn't be fair to, national powers that aren't anywhere near the state of Indiana. You want to have a chance to play closer to your home fans, so that makes total sense. But at the same time, there's just too many mishaps like we've already seen so far, and we're not even at the round of 64 yet. But a couple comments. We've got, I'm going to end up saying Ike because we had Graham Ike last night from Wyoming. Ike 5021 saying, good morning from Belgrade, Serbia. Watch the game at 2:30 a.m. here. Well worth it. Well, I'm glad you stayed up, Ike or Ike, however your last name or however this name may be pronounced. And we're glad you're joining us this morning. I'm not sure what time it is right now in Serbia, but we're glad you're with us. I guess it'd be further into the morning than it is here if you were watching overnight last night. But
yeah, it would be, well, let's see, that's if it started at 2:30, Indiana started at 9:30, so that's a 5-hour difference. So it would be, if you did Eastern time, it would be what? 1?
I think it's about a 4-hour difference, 5-hour difference.
5-hour difference.
Yeah.
And you're asking me to
here we
go.
He's got a follow-up. He flew from Detroit to Seattle. It took 5 hours. So you're right about the flight. It's almost 2 p.m. Thanks, Ike. But yeah. Now Indiana travels to play St. Mary's. The Gales out of the West Coast Conference, Gonzaga's biggest rival in that conference. Yep. I'm not going to ask you what you know about St. Mary's because I wouldn't expect you to know anything about St. Mary's unless you do. The only thing that I know is what I just said, is that they're the team that typically gives Gonzaga the most trouble in their conference.
Well, and they did this year too. I mean, in their home game against Gonzaga, I mean, they didn't just beat Gonzaga, they throttled them. I mean, they controlled that game from the opening tip all the way to the final buzzer. So Indiana's got a quality opponent, and I think, to me that I think Indiana's defense will be fine. But I think what is concerning if you're an IU fan is watching that game last night. Seemed like there was a little bit of tired legs because of that the Big Ten tournament run. And it looked a lot like, to me, John, that the first half of that Michigan game in the Big Ten tournament. So I don't know if there was just an issue with the energy level or if it was tired legs or what the case might have been. But now you compound that by the fact that what we just talked about, not only do you have to fly to Portland, but your flight gets delayed till 4 a.m. Yeah. And you got to play I think it's a mid-afternoon or mid-afternoon, early evening game against St. Mary's on Thursday. So if this was a straight up matchup, these two teams meeting, I think Indiana would have a great shot. I don't think St. Mary's is overly impressive to the point where Indiana can't beat them. And I think the way that the Hoosiers have been playing lately, especially on the defensive end, getting that spark. I mean, let's talk about Trayce Jackson-Davis. I mean, I know he's the storyline, but how much did we harp on him, or at least me, throughout the course of the season? Like, this is your All-American. This is the guy that needs to step up in a big way. He's the NBA draft prospect. And if I could go back in time, I just want to know, not what we heard in the press conference, not what he told reporters. I want to know what that halftime locker room speech was like from Mike Woodson to Trayce Jackson-Davis, because it has completely turned around how he's played these last, 3-4 games. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just really impressed with this kid. So many times throughout the season, we've seen Indiana play games like they played against Michigan, against Illinois, against Wyoming last night, and they come up on the wrong side. I think that this is a turning point for this team and for this program. And I know that there's going to be some players that aren't going to be around next season, but you're setting the foundation. And to go through all the struggles, all the turmoil, to be on the bubble, to lose those close games constantly, and then to flip the script like that in the Big Ten tournament, that's coaching, that's player leadership. We complained about it all throughout the season. Now it's time to give those guys some credit, because what they've done like I said, these last 3-4 games, going back to the start of the Big Ten tournament, has been really impressive.
I have just been informed that Jim has landed off I think it's his first flight, because I do believe it's a connecting from Indianapolis to Minneapolis to Portland. He's sitting on the plane right now, so I'm assuming he'll be joining us when he gets off the plane. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. When we get back, Dustin and I are going to discuss some of our bracket picks. We haven't really gotten to talk about this on the show. And really, today is the last day before, well, I guess you could do tomorrow morning before the real, all the major games of round of 64 begins. So we're going to take a break. Indiana Sports Beat is brought to you by MyWow Network. I don't have the live read in front of me, so I'm not going to say all the fun little things that Jim normally does, but we'll be right back after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
Let me go ahead and let him know. We're through the first segment.
Where's he flying to?
He's in I believe he's in Minneapolis right now.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know how long his layover is, but he made it sound like last night that once he landed, he'd be good for the rest of the show. I honestly wish he would have joined from the back of the plane, because I wanted to hear someone in the background yell at him.
Well, not only that, but do you still have to wear a mask on a plane?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Oh, he just put himself in. He told me not to put him in. Jim, if you can hear me, I guess we can do whatever you want, obviously, but we were about ready to go into our picks for the NCAA tournament.
It looks like he's still on the plane.
He's got a mask on, though. He's on the plane, and the answer to your question, you have to have a mask on a plane still.
Yeah, so that would have made it even more difficult. But even still in the airport, you might. I don't know. I don't know what all the rules are.
And he usually spills his coffee in the airport. Are we going to see that again?
Does he really?
He has recently. He's just put his hand in the air because he hears me talking about it. I'm not trying to rag on you, Jim. I'm just being fun. And we're off the air anyway. This is just YouTube that's hearing this stuff. We're waiting for the commercial break to end. Dustin, how many people are in your shooting from the hip bracket right now?
Not as many as I'd like. I'm going to have to send that out again.
I'm Woody's Warriors.
I'm
sure you figured that out. I think it has my name on it.
It does have your name on it. But we're at 20 plus.
You can't leave me in there, but can you hear me?
You sound like you're talking through a radio on a semi-truck.
I've got the microphone inside my mask, but it's not doing a lot of good.
That sounds really bad if you want to wait.
Yeah, wait.
Can I keep you out until you get off the plane?
Well, of course.
Okay.
We're at 25 plus currently.
See, if you had Nebraska in the tournament, you'd have like 100 people in your bracket challenge because that's all your followers, Nebraska fans.
Yeah. I think there's a good portion of Nebraska fans that are involved.
Oh yeah, I saw Carolina Husker on there. Isn't he in there?
Yep. I'm going to send out. I'll continue to send it out more furiously today. If anybody wants to join, shooting from the hip, ESPN, it's open.
We'll put that. We'll come back. You can say that over the air too if you want.
Episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by BB's Market in Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment brought to you by BB's Market in Bloomington. Jim Coyle planning to rejoin us shortly. His plane did just land. He is waiting to get off of his flight right now, so we'll probably be hearing from him shortly after that. Dustin and I are going to talk a little bit about – go ahead.
I was wondering if he's one of those guys that immediately stands up on the plane. I hope he can do this right now, because if so, I hate those people. They just like the immediate, like
the green room. He's nodding his head no.
The wheels hit the tarmac and you just stand up immediately. And I'm like, I just want to, like, one time, I just want to slap somebody in the back of the head that does that, because it's so annoying. Like, we have to wait another 15 minutes. So just get comfortable. It's fine. I'm glad he doesn't do that.
Good to know. Yes. We're going to talk about our bracket challenges. Obviously, we've talked a lot this week already about the Indiana Sports Beat Radio bracket challenge. I'm going to throw that information up here in a second just to show you again. You can join us on the ESPN Tournament Challenge app if you haven't already. Join Indiana Sports Beat Radio. You get one bracket per user. There's no password to get in. And then you'll get, if you win, you'll get a visor or something from Jim. He'll get that shipped to you if you're the bracket challenge winner. But Dustin, you've also got your own bracket challenge going on, right?
I do. It's all for fun, no money, limit of 3 brackets per person, shooting from the hip. If you know my column, I decided to play. I mean, it's fitting for basketball, right? Shooting from the hip. So if you want to join that, it's public, it's open. I've posted it a few times on Twitter. I'll shoot that out a few more times. I'd like to get around 100 people in there. Right now we're at 25 plus, so we're playing from behind here. But, it's just for fun, so I thought I'd set something up. So join Jim's group first, Indiana Sports Beat, join that one, and then if you're still interested, come over to the shooting from the hip.
There you go. And then, Dustin, who do you have? I know you released your Final Four through Saturday Tradition. Mm-hmm. So why did you make your selections for who they are? Who are they, and who do you think comes out on top?
I mean, if you've watched Arizona play this season, to me, they're the best team in college basketball. I know that they've had some struggles. They've had some poor performances. That game against Colorado really sticks out, where they just got blown. They got the doors blown off of them in that game. But from start to finish, I mean, there was a stretch where I think they beat 3 straight ranked opponents and beat them by double digits. USC was in that mix. UCLA was in that mix. So I just really think the way that Arizona's been playing throughout the course of the season, they've been very consistent. I look at Duke, and I just think that Coach K is going to have some sort of magic, and Gonzaga, to me, hasn't been as good this season. You look at early in the year, they've had some struggles against some of the better teams that they played in the non-conference. You can't really judge Gonzaga by what they do in conference. They had that blowout loss to St. Mary's. I know it's just one game, but I just think Duke's going to have some sort of March magic because of it's Coach K's final season, so I think that's going to happen. I have Kansas. I'm going to be honest, that bracket was a toss-up. I don't have it in front of me. I can't remember. I think Auburn was the 2 seed in that bracket.
Yes, I believe so.
I don't know. Why not? I mean, I know Kansas has had issues with performing in March, but I'm going with Kansas on that one. And then I had Purdue as the final one, which I know a lot of the listeners here aren't going to like. But the reason I went with Purdue, and I know, look, my complaint about Purdue is you're a top 10 team all season long, probably the best team Matt Painter's had, or at least was supposed to. You didn't win a Big Ten regular season title. You didn't win a Big Ten tournament title. But I think the difference for Purdue, and I talked about defense and how important it is, they didn't play defense throughout the course of the season, but I think that the matchups when they step outside of the conference is a lot more difficult for teams to game plan for. I think that when you're not scouting them pretty consistently like teams in the Big Ten too, it's harder to defend that combination of Travion Williams and Zach Edey, and it's hard to know what Jaden Ivey is going to be able to do. So those are my final 4 teams. I expect that none of them now will make the Final Four because that's usually how it goes for me. But that's my reasoning behind those 4 teams.
And who? So I'm assuming based on the things you said about each team that Arizona.
I have Arizona winning. Yep.
Okay. My Final Four. I've got Texas Tech coming out of Gonzaga's region, defeating Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. Therefore, Texas Tech would be defeating Duke as well. Unless I have them losing to Michigan State, I can't think. I don't have Duke going very far. I just think they finished the season very slowly. You had that horrible outing on Coach K's farewell against North Carolina. I don't have much faith in Coach K right now. It's kind of like, and this might get off topic for a second. Coach K wanted this farewell tour, and this is, like I said, I'm not going to go into this long. And then you have Tom Brady on Selection Sunday. It's almost like saw what Coach K has gone through, and he wants to have that farewell tour of his own, which – like I said, I don't want to get into that right now, but that just reminded me of that for a second. We'll obviously talk about that on another day.
I was like,
Dustin, do you have something?
I put this out on Twitter, and I still think it's pretty accurate. Like what Tom Brady did on Selection Sunday is like the best man proposing at your wedding reception. Like you just completely steal the spotlight from everything else, and he knows it. Yeah. He's not stupid.
So there you go. Enough about Tom Brady. So I've got Texas Tech coming out of that region. Next, I've got Baylor coming out of the region that Indiana is in, beating, I believe, Kentucky in the Elite Eight. A lot of people have Kentucky coming out of that one. Who did you have in that one?
I had Purdue. And the people.
You had Purdue, okay.
The University of Kentucky athletics page was not happy with my selection that was posted. That's
the thing. And me living in that area, Kentucky slander is not accepted. You will be ratioed, or at least attempted to be ratioed, if you try to say that their team is bad, especially if they really aren't bad, which they are a good team. So I've got Baylor coming out of that region. Obviously, they won last year's national championship. There's no reason to think that they can't do it again. They're one of the most consistent teams this year, and probably, I don't want to say the most underrated conference, because I do believe it is the best, but nobody talks about the Big 12 being the best. It's always about the Big Ten. It's always about the SEC. Everyone talks about how bad the ACC is. No one ever really talks about, at least this year, the Big 12 or the Pac-12. It may be because the Big 12 is about to become sort of obsolete, especially when you think about football terms. Mm-hmm. So you have that. But the Big 12 is one of the best conferences in basketball, if not the best. And I think Baylor, that helps them out to maybe make a run to go back-to-back. Third, I have Arizona. I actually have Arizona playing against Baylor in the national championship. The reason I have them losing to Baylor is because you have a first-year head coach. I know it's Gonzaga's, a former assistant from Gonzaga, but I think at some point there's got to be some give there. You're going to make a mistake. All the pressure is on. I mean, I know maybe there's not so much pressure. It's your first year. You're playing really loose. Or coaching really loose, I should say. Anything can go your way. But eventually, when you realize you're playing for a national title, I think that may cause some crucial mistakes down the stretch if you see Baylor playing against Arizona in that particular national championship. So that's why I've got Baylor defeating Arizona.
Well, They could pull a Kevin Ollie at UConn. Kevin Ollie, it was either his first or second year at UConn that he won a national champion. That was the only.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But he got it done. I can't remember if it was his first or second year, but you never know.
And then lastly, I have Wisconsin. I have Wisconsin defeating Iowa, so therefore I have Iowa getting to the Elite Eight in that region. Who else? That's the region with Auburn and Kansas and stuff, isn't it? Yeah, so I've got Iowa upsetting Kansas. I've got Wisconsin upsetting, I guess, Auburn, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody.
They're going to beat somebody. They're going to beat somebody to get to the Final Four. Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
Watch this. Now, this probably won't end up happening, but if South Dakota State beats Providence, watch out Iowa, because South Dakota State is unbelievably talented, and they can shoot. They're shooting like 45% from three-point range this season. Like,
there could be a total of like 43s made in that game. They were to play each other.
Well, I'm going to say it's going to be like an NBA score. It's going to be like 112 to 106 final. That would be an incredibly fun game.
Are you insinuating that you picked South Dakota State over Providence?
I picked South Dakota State to get to the Sweet 16.
Oh, okay. Oh man, so you're not high on the Hawkeyes.
No. I just think it's a matchup thing. If Iowa was in another bracket, I think that they're a Final Four contender. I just think that matchup in particular, if they're going to play somebody that's going to run and gun like they do, I don't trust Iowa's defense to get it done. It's kind of the same like if Purdue was playing against a team that mirrored them, I would pick that other team because I don't think Purdue's defense is any good.
I feel like I could have made a mistake in that portion of my bracket because I've had multiple people, now you included, talk to me about how lucky Providence has been all season, even though they won their conference. I need to pull up a stat that somebody sent me.
Well, I don't know if it's
Providence.
I don't know if it's necessarily luck. You have to be good to win your league, but at the same time, they had 3 games canceled. It's kind of like Michigan and Illinois last year in the Big Ten. They had 3 games canceled, so they won the Big East because of their winning percentage. They lost both of their games to Villanova, which Villanova finished second in the Big East. And then they got bounced, I believe, in the first round of the Big East tournament. So they're a good team. I just don't think they are as good as what people thought they were. Like, I think the last month of the schedule has been brutal for them.
Let me throw a couple things at you. They've had, and this one isn't so much of a stat as the other two are. They've had multiple comebacks from down 14 points. They've won 4 overtime games. 4 overtime games. They had a delay for a roof leak and then started a comeback against Xavier and then won in triple overtime. That is absolutely insane.
That is, I didn't
to
know
have all of those things go your way.
But that's what it takes in March. You have to have a little bit of luck, right? It's the same thing with
Wisconsin. A friend of mine said they're the
Wisconsin
luckiest team in America, and that's why they're going to lose to South Dakota State. But that could be why they win, too.
Right. Wisconsin had some luck this season. So, I mean, you never know. You take what you can get in March. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying – I just think the way that Providence closed this season, we saw a little bit more of what they are as a team as opposed to what we thought they were. It's like Dennis Green, like the right.
They were what we thought they were.
We let them off the hook. Yeah, I don't know. I just think South Dakota State, they haven't lost since what? November, December?
That's another thing. I think they have like 2 losses.
I mean,
they don't have many losses.
They're the perfect Cinderella story, in my opinion.
I've chosen the wrong. I think I've chose Vermont to make it to the Sweet 16.
Now watch. Providence is going to beat South Dakota State by 25 points and make me look like an idiot.
I'll take it. That's the thing. Everyone gets to look like an idiot in March. Everyone thinks they're the best bracketologist. Everyone thinks they're the best at picking games. When all of us suck, every single one of us are terrible because there's never in the history of the world been a perfect bracket. I can't remember what the odds of that happening are, but it's probably never going to happen.
Right.
And that person will probably be declared God if it does happen.
I think you win a lot of money if you do it on the ESPN challenge. I could be wrong on that, but I think they've always had some sort of reward for somebody who has a perfect bracket because it would be
unlikely.
So unlikely.
I mean, we've seen a 16 seed beat a 1. That was one wall we had to break down. The only wall left to break down in the college basketball world, I guess there may be 2, We haven't had a 40-0 team, which we almost had Kentucky a few years back.
Yep.
And we haven't had a perfect NCAA bracket, which I think the 40-0 is way more likely. I don't know that will ever happen at this point. I feel like that Kentucky team from whatever year it was the closest we'll ever see. And then who knows? But
I don't think it's going to happen with the transfer portal and the way players move about and all that. I don't think that it's going to happen. That's my take on it. But I mean,
so what games are you looking forward to coming up? I know we're going to see you on Friday. You're going to co-host with us then instead of tomorrow. But what are you looking forward to tomorrow, or even today? I know we have 2 more first 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this. To me, Rutgers is a team. We talked about Providence. I think you could kind of, not to steal a Jeffrey the Greek reference here, but I think you could do kind of a Spider-Man meme with Providence and Rutgers, because I think Rutgers, when you talk on the Big Ten side of things, they'll play Notre Dame tonight, another late game for the Big Ten because they hate me. They might be the streakiest team that I'm aware of in this tournament, because you look at they had early season losses to Lafayette, UMass, I think DePaul they got beat by early in the season. Now, some of those games they didn't have Geo Baker, which makes a pretty big difference. But then to rattle off 4 straight wins against Michigan State when they were ranked, Illinois when they were ranked, Ohio State when they were ranked, Wisconsin. So this is a team that if they get hot, I think they can be the most dangerous team in the tournament because they have those shooters. Ron Harper Jr. is cold-blooded, man. That guy, the shots he makes, what he did against Indiana, what he did against Purdue. Yeah. I mean, that guy, that's the kind of player you want in March. I mean, he has 1,000% confidence that every shot he takes is going in. Geo Baker with that kind of step back, dribble between the legs, step back. I think that that Rutgers is good enough offensively and defensively to make a run in March. The problem to me is the fact that
popping in with something ridiculous as usual, Jim Coyle, in the middle of Dustin.
Stops in it. That's how
Jim must have disagreed with that. What you were hearing, even though you were saying.
I don't mind the interruption, but to finish my point, I just think Rutgers is the streakiest team. They have a chance to. I think they could legitimately make a run to the Elite Eight, or they could get beat by Notre Dame by 15 points.
You are out of your mind.
They're just that streaky.
You are out of your mind. I have been up for 24 hours, and you're crazier than I am.
So you have not, and I figured this, but you have not slept since before yesterday's show.
No, we got out of there late. Left Dayton around 2:45 a.m. and drove to the Indianapolis airport. Got on a plane, and right now I'm somewhere in Iceland. I think we've landed in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and all I saw was like 10,000 lakes down below me, and they were all frozen.
So there's still plenty of snow up there.
What kind of restaurant do we have going on? Somebody's cooking something behind you.
Panda Express.
Yeah, I didn't want to give free advertising away, but I'm not eating here. It's the greatest spot. It's got light. It's got a perfect counter. This is great, man. There's nobody here because they're not open. So I can sit here and not get yelled at for not having my mask on. So there's that.
There you go. Perfect.
But how's everybody doing? Sorry for being late, but I hope everyone had a good morning and had a good night, more importantly. Man, that one was a knuckle buster a little bit. But they got past it, and I said this last night on the show. I don't care who you're playing. It happens. It's going to happen tomorrow. Or what day is today? I don't even know. Today Wednesday?
You're on Wednesday.
It's
Wednesday now.
Tomorrow the tournament starts, and you watch. You see it. There will be upsets. That's why we love this tournament. So that game being close like it was, Vegas had a 4-point spread. They know what they're doing. And when you get into the NCAA tournament, you get into a great bunch of not mismatch, but you run into matchup problems because it's always usually an unfamiliar foe, like last night, how they played, but in the end it was able to stave them off, and we just lost John. And
I'm here.
Get the job done. Just ran into Dale Davis. He's on my flight. half the IU media corps is on my flight. Myself, Brockway, Mike Schumann, Peegs, Rab Johns. I think that was it. And Dale Davis. So, and here's an odd one for you. So yesterday, got a ton of time because we had to get there the day before to do practice pressers and all that. So yesterday they don't play till like midnight. That's when I think they tipped off. So I had a lot of time during the day. So I'm like, I'm gonna go find a little cigar lounge if they got one around here. They did. Nice little one, former house. And I'm in there just sitting there talking with the people, and we're talking a little sports. And they say, Butch Carter? And I'm like, yeah. And they say, oh, yeah, he's upstairs. And I'm like, what? Played with Mike Whitson on the 80 team. Was a member of those teams for Indiana back then. Just random. Wasn't there for the game. Was just in Dayton. He was on his way back to Toronto. But so back-to-back days, run into Butch Carter and now Dale Davis here. So not a bad deal.
You're having quite an experience here during this 48-hour excursion where you're not sleeping, flying on planes all over hell and back.
Well, that will be coming to an end soon, one way or another. Hopefully that. Well, there's no place further they can put them than Portland. Until they start putting sites in Japan, we're good. That's about as far as we can go. I see Cemetery 66 asking, what do you think of Parker Stewart playing 37 minutes? Well, I'll tell you why he was out there. He was out there for his defense. Well, it says that you notice that IU's defense is most connected when he's in the game. Well, he played tremendous defense last night. He was on Maldonado, and that dude is 6'7". He's big, and Wyoming was trying to get him one-on-one with Parker Stewart in the paint, and they did several times, but Parker held him off. He scored once, but he did a hell of a job defending him last night. And Indiana did a great job on Icky, Trace Jackson Davis. I was just talking to Dale Davis about that. What a great end of the season he's having, and that continued last night. 29 points when they need him most, of course. John's telling us we got to take a break, and I don't have a problem with that today. Looking forward to it. Hey, don't forget we're brought to you by the great folks at BB's Marketplace, former Wagon Wheel there in Bloomington. Great specialty meats. You can order it online, too. And don't forget to get your My Wow card. Go to your app store and get that. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Dustin Schutte right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
An Evansville tradition for more than...
Hey, Dustin actually has to leave. I was trying to say that earlier.
I'm cutting.
So we do have Kyle joining us.
There you go. Later, fellas.
Thanks, Dustin. Thanks
No
for
problem.
helping out this
Hey, I appreciate you, brother, so much. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Later. Have a good one, guys.
See you, buddy.
Dustin.
Hello, Kyle. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Jim?
Oh, I'm just having a little morning Panda Express.
Nice.
He hasn't slept.
At all?
Nope, he went straight from Dayton to the Indianapolis airport, and now he's in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you know what that's like.
I don't do that very often.
Hopefully I don't do it very often either. It's not fun, I'm going to tell you. But it really makes me think about, and I'll talk about this later, but the IU team, their plane was late leaving. They were delayed. I'm guessing they're not going to didn't get into Portland until like 7 this morning instead of, a few hours earlier, which if they were, I don't know what kind of plane they had. If they had one of those planes where you can lay down, I needed one of those chairs where you can lay down. I almost got to sleep. I was this close to getting to sleep, but I just couldn't get there.
That's rough.
How are you doing, man?
Are you going to Portland too?
Yeah, that's where I'm on my way to Portland.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Man, high school, Floyd Central getting beat by Franklin. Are you kidding me?
I know.
Gee whiz. They always God, I hate to say it, but they lose big games. They lost that one. They lost to New Albany one year when they absolutely shouldn't have. Irks me.
Yeah, it was a weird matchup, size against guards, and I guess Franklin got him.
Man, you got 2 more weeks, don't you?
Yeah, semi-state this week.
It's weird. Oh, I was going to say I can't hear the commercials today, but it's not.
No, we're not. We got about 50 seconds still.
Usually they go so fast, and I'm like, man.
They do feel like they're going slow this morning. We hit our first break. I felt like we were in that one for a while.
I could lay down on this counter right here and just fall asleep.
What time is your connecting flight?
Well, here it is at 8:49, which is at 9:49 our time, 9:50.
So you got 30.
That's when it starts boarding. They board for like a half an hour.
All right, here we go.
Oh, it doesn't depart till like 30 minutes after that. Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday, brought to you by our good friends at – I can't even see what you got up there, John. I'll be honest with you.
We got the Courtroom Sports Grill in Bloomington.
Man, my eyes are really going out on me. Joined out by Cal Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Speaking of busy, man, I know you have been that way, and you've got 2 more weeks of it at least. But the boys basketball tournament continues. A few surprises. What was the biggest surprise for you in the regional round last week?
Well, I thought Blackhawk Christian in Class 2A, that game against Central Noble up there, figured that would be a showdown type game. But to see Blackhawk, even without Caleb First this year, thought they had a pretty good chance to get through. And Connor Asijan, the Wisconsin recruit for Central Noble, had 30 points and had 47 earlier in the day. So he had a 77-point day in the regional. So I don't know if that was the biggest surprise necessarily, but to see Blackhawk go down and Mark Davidson, who, coach of Blackhawk, who's, battling cancer and has been such a, influential person really throughout the state and such a good leader, his season comes to an end. But also, we talked, before we started here, Floyd Central losing in the early game. I think we would have I think everybody kind of anticipated them playing Bloomington North in the championship game, regional championship game. And Franklin gets them. Franklin was riding a hot streak, and they're going to be a good team moving forward. They have a sophomore, will be a junior next year, Micah Davis, who's Division I point guard, long and athletic, and he was really playing well at the end of the season. So that was a bit of a surprise to see Floyd Central go down early, because I think – and Bloomington North may have beat him in the night game anyway, but I think that was probably maybe the biggest surprise of early in the day. And then Westfield losing to Kokomo at night up in Logansport. And I thought I was there in the early part of Saturday, and I thought Kokomo would give them some trouble with Flory Badunga inside, but I really thought Westfield was in a good position there to advance after beating Homestead. So, I think that was a score. I know Saturday night I was at Southport, and that score was going around, and everybody was a little bit shocked by that score. So if you don't know about Kokomo, that Flory Badunga, 6'11", 6'10", 6'11" sophomore really is a difference maker for them. So there was a few surprises. I think those three were a few of them.
Yeah, anytime in high school when you have a athletic 6'11" dude, you got something on your hands. Because most people don't have that, and even if their talent has not come full-fleshed yet, they're going to be a handful regardless usually.
Oh yeah, and really, I think it sets up potentially you could have a really good matchup with Xavier Booker. If those teams advance, Kokomo and Cathedral, Xavier Booker played really well Saturday night against Ben Davis. He was shooting threes. He was blocking. I think he had six block shots, if I remember correctly, and really changed the game a lot on both ends of the floor, I thought, for Cathedral. So, that could be a fun matchup. Xavier steps outside way more often than Flory does, but, still you'd have 6'10", 6'11" against each other in the same game. But, still a long way to go. I have to say about that. They're 28 and number one in the state. They play Kokomo and up in the north side of the bracket in 4A, and then Cathedral will play Bloomington North in the south. So, still a ways to go for both those teams to get through, but that could potentially be a really fun matchup.
And then I think I noticed Chesterton made it through. They're still undefeated out there, right?
Yeah, Travis Grayson and that Chesterton team, and they're just keep on getting it done. And they go probably under the radar a little bit for an undefeated team because I don't know why, really. They shouldn't. I think people should know about them by now. So, yeah, they're going to be – I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. They just really play well together. Grayson's a really smart, efficient guard, tough kid. So that'll be an interesting – they don't really have anybody to match up against Wodonga. Not many people do, really, inside. But, the Chesterton's tough enough defensively. I think they're going to win that game, though. I just feel like they're – you get one step away at this point with the team they've had all year. I think they're going to find a way to get it done.
Oh man, I wish I could show you all that. There's a dog wearing a shirt in some kind of a stroller. I don't know if you all can see that over there. That was great. That just made my day. He's just sitting up with his shirt on like he's been here all day, waiting for room service. Any change in Mr. Basketball from this? I know Braden Smith got beat. Other people got beat. But does this, the guys that are still going, does that help the guys that lost? Does that hurt? Because that voting's not done yet.
No, I came away from Saturday maybe even more, not confused, but just feeling like it's more up in the air. Because early in the day you saw Braden Smith and Westfield beat Fletcher Lawyer in Homestead, but Lawyer had 27 points. He played really well. For the majority of that game, he kind of, outplayed everyone on the court. And then in the fourth quarter, it was Cam Hafner who kind of led the way for Westfield. Braden played really well too in the fourth quarter, but so you come away from that feeling like maybe Braden took the lead, but then Fletcher played better. So I don't know. And then they lose in the finals. So, that I don't know. Braden should get a lot of credit for leading his team to that sectional championship. They beat Fishers, beat Carmel. He played sensational over the course of the sectional, and he's playing with a fractured foot with the pin in his foot. So he gets he should get a lot of credit for that. But yeah, I would say Travis Grayson should get support, I would say, from Chesterton. I know people may not know him like they know the other kids, and he's not a high major Division I recruit, but I don't know. I don't think that should matter for everything, but I think he should get some support, and I think he will. And I think there's other players out there who potentially could as well. I think Lawyer will still get, and rightly so. I think he's. I was actually sitting next to Luke Goody, who they'd lost the previous day to IU in the tournament. In the Big Ten tournament. So he came up and watched Fletcher play. I happened to sit right next to him, and he was asking me what I thought about the Mr. Basketball, and if Fletcher had a shot. And I said, losing this game probably, doesn't help him, but he's had such a good 2 years there. And also that's something to think about too. Braden Smith had 4 years, at Westfield. Fletcher only came in for 2 years from Michigan. So that could play a factor too. I don't know how much, but potentially that could play a factor as well. And then you have Connor Asigian from Central Noble, who, he's going to end up top 10 in the state all time in scoring, and he's just going nuts in the tournament right now. So that's saying something. Yeah, and they to get his team, if they can win this week and then play in the state finals, he'll get a stage that some of these other guys don't. To play in the state finals on TV, and kind of maybe a first time for a lot of people to see him in person. So, I think that would matter too. You don't want to forget about him. He's still alive. Travis Grayson's still alive in the tournament. And some of the other players who are in the mix, like C.J. Dunn and Tay Davis, are not. So, it can only help you now to still be playing and have a chance to more for sure.
Speaking of Fletcher Lawyer going to Purdue, will that hurt him?
Will it hurt him? I don't think so. I think that's in
the boat. I meant.
Yeah, I think that's a misnomer or a
misconception.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat mythical at times. The IU recruit thing that may help you if there's a close race or whatever, or maybe just the visibility of the player in general. I think that I don't know that that's going to be any kind of we've seen Purdue recruits win it, and I think it's more help you to be an in-state recruit than going somewhere out of state. I always think that's more important than which school you're going to in the state necessarily, but it helps. I think it helps his visibility. You attach Purdue to his name every time he does something. I think that can only help you actually. So and this is a weird year too, where you got two of them, Brady Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, who are going to Purdue. So they're both kind of battling, and then I don't know. I don't think it has much of a factor on you.
Yeah, and plus it probably would matter more if Indiana was doing much, much better, although they're doing fine. They're making their way, made their way into the NCAA tournament, got a first win. So, but they're still trying to get back to that level. This weekend, what are the matchups that you're looking forward to?
I'll be heading down to the Hatchet House to see Cathedral and Bloomington North will be the second game. And then a cool story with Beech Grove. They've never made it this far, and they're playing Sullivan, and Sullivan's riding a hot streak with Randy Kelly. I think he's made 3 game-winning shots in the tournament so far, so he's been on a tear. I talked to Beech Grove, did a story on them that actually came out this morning, but a cool story for them. Matt English passed away a few years ago had a brain tumor. I got to know him over the last few years, and such a neat guy and a really kind of just a real guy, a real pretty kind of know what you get with him. And then his assistant, Mike Renfro, is taking over the program and kind of taking it to another level. So, pretty cool for Beech Grove and that community really getting behind its team. And, they're going to be making the long trek down to the Hatchet House and then Cathedral and Bloomington North, which I think should be a really interesting game too. I think Cathedral's probably the best team still alive. I feel like they're finally putting it all together. Their balance, and depth, and size, and guard play, and everything considered. I think they're the best team out there, and they're starting to play like it now. But they're going to any team that's still playing now is there for a reason. I think Bloomington North will give them everything they got with Nick Kleiber and Jake Roberts, and that team's going to be tough to beat too. They've got the athleticism and size that a lot of teams don't who go up against Cathedral. So I think that sets up to be a good game. Both games I think will be good ones down there at the Hatchet House.
Man, and if you have not been to the Hatchet House down in Washington, Indiana, you're missing something. It is one of those really fun Indiana gyms around the state. What does it hold? Like 7,000?
I want to say 71 or something around there.
And it's just it's a basketball gym, and what I mean by that is, I promise you, when that sucker's full, man, those people just get into it. As a matter of fact, the last time I was down there was to watch Trace Jackson Davis play. And so there'll be some great games. Xavier Booker sounds like he's rolling now. So ought to be a fun weekend, man. We'll be keeping up with you and keeping up with the Hoosiers as well. Have fun. Don't work too hard.
No, it should be fun. Hatchet House is one of the great Indiana gyms, and the sun will be shining through the windows, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I heard it's going to be 72 there today. Congratulations to that. I'm looking at ice out the window. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. I cannot thank you enough as always, man. Make sure you give him a follow and follow him in the Indy Star. Appreciate you, man.
All right, thanks, Jim. Safe travels.
You bet. Thank you, sir. Kyle Neddenriep with us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the folks down at the Courtroom in Bedford. Great place to catch a ball game. Great place to catch an IU game Thursday. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
Well, I feel like my voice is dragging.
I'm sure. No
So
DJ
is-
today. He's going to come on tomorrow. He normally would be on next, but he messaged me saying he won't be here.
So who's up next?
You're blank until Rick Bozich. So you're blank here.
Damn it. That sucks.
Talk with me. Dude, I can help you out.
No, I know that. I just wish I'm probably going to miss Rick. Yeah, I mean,
I can text him and see if he wants to go early.
Oh, then you'd have to be alone.
I can. Well, one of my plans for this morning, if you weren't going to join, was to replay part of the post-game show. And I can do that if I need to.
Fine with me. You may have to
I'll
do that
text
for the
Rick and
last.
see if he wants to join right now.
That would be great. I gotta get some food because I'm gonna be on this plane for like 4 more hours. I think.
That's nuts.
I haven't eaten yet either. This is stupid. Absolutely asinine what the NCAA did.
Oh well.
It's not. It's actually bullshit.
It really is. Another thing too that Dustin and I talked about at the beginning. Colorado State, they're the better seed in the Colorado State-Michigan game, and they have to travel much further than Michigan does. And they had plane issues. They didn't get in Indianapolis until Monday night or whatever.
Who? Indiana?
No, Colorado State.
Oh. Well, Indiana left late. Were delayed leaving it last night as well.
Yeah. I will text you if Rick texts me.
Just kidding.
What?
Just kidding.
What are you kidding about?
I was laying back snoring as I'm sitting here staring at the food that I can't
I didn't see
get to.
Do you have media availability tonight? When are you going to be able to sleep?
We have practice and media availability today, and I don't even know the schedule.
Is Keegan and them going out? Or are they staying
Keegan
back?
is
Okay, Rick said give him 5 minutes.
not a problem.
All right, here we go.
We can make this segment a little longer.
Or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced.
Or really short so we can get a break
Cheryl
in.
Sizemore
Either
gets
way.
you in the home you want today.
Well, you can't take Rick short.
IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios Annex here at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. En route to Portland, Oregon, as Indiana takes on St. Mary's on Thursday. Indiana's plane was delayed leaving last night. I don't know exactly what time they got into Portland this morning, but I don't know if they were able to sleep on the plane. I would certainly hope so. But that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And think about 6'9" guys. I don't know what the situation was, what the charter was, if it's one of those that's for basketball players, bigger. It's like the shower. I hate going into a shower. It's like this high. It drives me insane. I'm only 6'1", so I can't imagine. Why would you ever put a shower head that low, ever? It drives me nuts. See, now that crazy's starting to sink in. That tired crazy, John. You can stay on if you'd like. Let's see. Get to some comments here. David says, stayed up and watched the Hoosier win, so he stayed home from work so he can rewatch it today. enjoy it with some brewskis. Well, I wish I was enjoying it with you there, David. Not a bad plan. Not a bad plan at all. Let's see. Oh, Mike was talking about ridiculous being in the East Regional playing in Portland. It absolutely is. Like, it is crazy because I can't imagine what those guys feel like right now because I know how tired I am. And I didn't play a hard-ass game last night. So hopefully they can get tons of rest today. And like Mike says, hell, these guys are 19 and 20 years old. They'll get back. Derek says TJD tweeted 13 minutes ago, said the Eagle has landed. Well, there you go. That's substantially later than they expected to be in. So
I think it's a 5-hour difference in terms of when they were originally supposed to land, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah. So now you add that to the fact of what Indiana's been dealing with, and I hope they overcome it all. That would be great. Like I said this yesterday. You know, you had the Michigan team back. How was that? 2016 or whenever that was, where they had the plane crash. The plane runs off into the runway. They had to play the first game in the Big Ten tournament in their practice jerseys, but they would go on to win that tournament. So you can overcome stuff, and hopefully they get all the rest that they can get today, and we'll see what happens. But you can't bitch and moan about it. You just got to go deal with it, and you got to deal with the cards or play with the cards you've been dealt, unfortunately, and that is the cards they've been dealt. Traveling to Portland and now having a plane be delayed and getting in even later. But you know, someone was talking to me last night. You know, in the NBA, they're doing this all the time, which I know these aren't NBA players, but these guys do this. Bam, 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 bam.
And that's the advantage of having Mike Woodson. You have somebody who knows what it's like to be able to have to get on a flight in a situation like this, who can explain to them that it's normal. I mean, I know it's not normal in the college game. He can explain to them what it's like, maybe feel a little more comfortable with their situation, because these guys have never played in the NCAA tournament. But when you have someone like Mike Woodson who's used to this kind of travel, I'm sure you can. There's definitely some positives to that aspect of it.
Who's your fan for life says Bates played well.
Hello.
Look at this monkey. Look at this monkey head trying to jump in on the show.
Howdy, howdy.
Kevin Brockway. What was I just talking about? Oh, who's your fan for life said Bates played well defensively in the first half. Not sure why he didn't get a run in the second. He does think that Parker battled well, got beat a lot, but battle was bad. What do you think about Bates' play last night?
Yeah, no, and I think Parker Stewart too. You know, give him credit. Give Parker Stewart a lot of credit for staying in there, battling, and hit a big shot. Didn't like the foul on the 3-pointer at the end, though. That 4-point play that turned that 10-point lead to 6. But what are you going to do? Sometimes the refs blow those whistles. But all in all, a good win and a good job by I think Parker tonight.
You know, you want to be a great friend, go buy me a breakfast sandwich.
I'll tell you what, these are really good. These croissant breakfast sandwiches are really good.
I don't hear how good it is. I want to find out how good it is.
People's croissant. Well, got to get to the.
I'll give you my credit card. You go buy me something.
Got to get some. Got to get to the airport though.
You're at the airport, Kevin.
I mean, got to get to the gate apparently.
Right behind us.
All right.
You see what I'm dealing with, folks?
I'm sleepy.
You see what I'm dealing with here? It's just nuts. It's a bunch of nuts.
All of the beat writers, Jim, disincluding yourself, who has the best chance of going insane before they're able to fall asleep in Portland? Maybe that's a horrible question to ask.
You know, it depends on when. We don't know what the schedule is. None of us have seen the schedule yet today, so we don't know when that is. So that's part of it. But, man, I don't know. Rabby was looking pretty ragged. I'm looking into this camera, and I'm like, not that I ever really like looking back at myself, but it looks even a little more rougher today than normal. Rick Bozich is going to join us here in a little bit. Looking forward to talking to Rick as the NCAA tournament is underway. Who won that? Texas? Who won the other game? Texas Southern?
Texas Southern defeated Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Mike Davis's old squad, Texas Southern.
Won
where he
3 of their
coached.
last 4 tournament games in the NCAA.
And he took them to the tournament a few times, I think, before he moved on. But I remember when he was down there. So always, that's what makes it fun, man, seeing these teams playing. I'm ready for this tournament. Unfortunately, I'm afraid I'm going to miss quite a few games because of being there. But what are you going to do? I was able to enter 2 brackets. I had like 10 minutes yesterday, and I was like, and man, no thought, just bam, bam, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. It'll probably be one of my best ones because I put no thought into it.
Looks like our friend
I got
Rick
out of my
Bozich
own
is
way.
here. Let's go ahead and bring him on.
Hey Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Where are you sitting in the like the eating area of the hotel?
No, it's the eating area of Minneapolis St. Paul Airport.
Oh my gosh! What time did you fly out?
7 a.m.
Wow.
Well, Indiana's. Well, we leave here in about, I don't know, 45 minutes, I think, 30 minutes to go to Portland. And I was just talking about the Indiana plane was delayed last night. I think that they just got in to Portland not too long ago. So I really wonder what that's going to do to them. I know how tired I am. I didn't play that game against Wyoming last night. That was a physical battle. So it has to play an effect. And you're going 3 time zones away on top of that. That's a lot to ask of some guys.
Yeah, it is. And it's not necessary. You could have put them in Pittsburgh or Indy or Milwaukee or Buffalo or Greenville.
Why does the NCAA insist on doing things like this? It's befuddling, really.
You know, they never explain why. They have their reasons, but they never explain them. And the same thing's going to happen tonight to either Rutgers or Notre Dame because they got to fly all night to go to San Diego.
Crazy. The NCAA tournament is underway, sort of, with the first 4 in starting tomorrow. The 64-team field will be completed and underway. Indiana gets a win, Rick, against what turned out to be a game Wyoming squad. Some matchup issues, but it was Indiana couldn't hit Lake Monroe if they were in a boat for a while, man. The shooting was bad, but they were able to defensively control the game enough and stop Maldonado or keep him in check to get that win.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious in the very early on that one person was going to have to step up and help Trace Jackson Davis in the starters. I think other than Trace, they were 4 for 20 in the first half. They only made 1 3. That was Xavier Johnson. Weren't getting anything done. And the longer the first half went on, it seemed like the more and more when the defensive possessions began, Wyoming had 5 guys with at least 1 foot in the lane. They were just daring Indiana to make shots. And it's like that's a scenario we've seen so much over the last 2 or 3 years. Like Big Ten teams, if you can make shots, you'll beat us. If you don't, you won't. And that changed somewhat in the second half because of Jordan Geronimo. That real game, not only offensively, in a variety of ways offensively. He had those tip dunks, which that's sort of his signature. He hit a couple jump shots. He made a 3. He drove the ball once. It kind of faked and pivoted in the lane and scored. I mean, he showed some variety to his game. And he had a couple of really good defensive plays where he pulled the ball out of Maldonado's hand. He was going up for a shot. So considering going into the game, people weren't even sure he's going to play. It's a huge night by Jordan Geronimo. Yeah.
Where I was sitting, there was an inbounds play right in front of me, and he was the defender. And he just jumped up one time to block, and I just turned, and Dustin Pyrrhic turned and looked at me. We just looked at each other, and I said, I could have walked underneath of him. He got up so high, it blew my mind. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And that's what we both said to each other. His hops are crazy. And, man, he's learning to use that to his advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Trace Jackson said after the game. Even they call him the freak because he's a freak of nature. And he does have incredible God-given athletic ability, and he uses it well. And what he did against Wyoming was he showed tremendous timing on a couple of those tips when the ball, one time I think he fouled Galloway, who missed the layup, and he was there. He showing hustle to trail the play. And another time he just went up in a crowd, and he's got the ability to elevate a little bit more than the other people in the crowd and get his hands on the ball and put it in. So huge. I mean, that was just huge game for him, and maybe it's something he can build on and continue to play like that, not only this year but the next couple of years.
Yeah, his personality is very calm and a great demeanor, and his game is that. He is calm on the court, which I prefer to see than someone who's really kind of scattered. He's very calm, and I think as he continues to grow, he's going to be a good one. I know people have said that, but I mean, you can really see the skills that this guy has that are not even close to being brought out yet.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a big offseason for him if he can get in the gym and improve his ball handling and passing, and become a guy who can create his own shots because he's got the first step quickness. If he can become a good enough ball handler, he can blow by defenders, and obviously improve his shot. I mean, he's been better this year. He's better at the line for sure. He's made a few threes. I mean, he only made 2 threes last night, and he made one of them. So yeah, he's got a lot of tools in the shed. He's just got to bring a few more of them out.
Absolutely. And the game you saw last night, I know the shooting was poor. The defense was good. They won the game, which was most importantly, because when you get to the tournament, anything can happen. And so it was Vegas had it right. Like I said, they had a 4-point game. Indiana covered the spread. Now they have to go and take on a St. Mary's team who's a little more talented than Wyoming. Play out with the West Coast Conference with Gonzaga. But I'm not familiar enough with St. Mary's to really speak upon them. But I know that they've had a good program over the years and playing in that conference and playing Gonzaga and trying to elevate it. I don't know where they are right now.
Well, I mean, it's a typical team of Randy Bennett, who's had his program in place for quite a while. One is they have older guys. 2 is they have multiple guys who can shoot the three. I think they've got 3 really good 3-point shooters, and they're known for their physicality. The game will be played at a similar tempo that the game was played at last night. They like games in the 50s or 60s, and they're a good defensive team. I mean, I looked at their season record. I mean, they don't have a lot of signature wins against. They beat Gonzaga, but other than that, I don't see anybody on there like, wow, they beat them, or wow, they beat this team. So I don't think it's one of his better teams, and I don't think they really have. When they were really good, they had Patty Mills and Dellavedova and some of those guys who became NBA guards. I'm not sure they have the NBA guys this year, but it's an older, tougher team. So Indiana's going to have to guard them, and they guarded last night pretty well. And, when they eventually get beat, it's going to be that the shot making kills them. One of these games, you would think that Miller Kopp or Parker Stewart would go off. Keep waiting for it to happen. It hasn't happened in a while, but you would think inevitably one of them will go off.
Yeah, perimeter defense is something that they've kind of fought with this season. Having a team that's physical and shoots the three, that sounds like that could be problematic for Indiana, especially if they're not hitting shots. That's going to be a serious problem. But blocking out, I hate Race Thompson. He's probably given up more threes than anybody in America. So many times I see him running back at a shooter, and they just knock down a three. But they've got to find a better way of closing those 3-point shooters out, especially when you have a team like St. Mary's who has multiple weapons. Yeah,
I agree with that. And you can't be fouling 3-point shooters the way they did last night. There was 2 really bad ones in the second half that could have put Wyoming back in the game. Giving you a little bit more insight on St. Mary's, they're actually a better defensive team in terms of efficiency than Indiana. They're ninth in the country. But here's a couple scores, and I know it's been 3 or 4 months ago, but they only beat Bellarmine by 9, and that was at St. Mary's. They beat Notre Dame by 3 in a neutral court. That's similar to the Indiana score. And that's their best non-conference win, Notre Dame. They played Wisconsin on a neutral court, which I believe wasn't that the Maui Invitational in August? And they lost to Wisconsin by 6. Similar to the Indiana score. So, I think it's a fairly even game. I think St. Mary's will be favored by 2 or 3 points maybe, but it'll be a game that if Xavier Johnson scores a little bit better, or if one of those other guys can go off and get Indiana some, they keep having these games that they're getting outscored, like in the Iowa game, 14 threes, Indiana had 5. They're getting beat at the 3-point line by that big a margin. They're going to have a hard time winning. And as I look at their team, they've got 1, 2. They got 3. They got one guy made 59 threes, shooting 39%. Another guy who's a 47% 3-point shooter. He makes about 1.5 a game. And another guy who's a 39% 3-point shooter. So they're going to get threes from a lot of different positions. So that'll be the game plan of how can they stop them. I don't really think they have an inside guy at the level, especially the way they played the last 2.5 games. I mean, this is the best basketball of Trace Jackson Davis's career that we've seen. I think over the last 4, counting the Michigan game, and we know he didn't do much in the first half, I think he's averaging almost 25 points a game in the last 4 games.
Yeah, he's killing it. Ironically, Dale Davis is sitting about 30 feet from me over here in the food court. He was on our flight, and I was telling him, I was like, man, Trace is just killing it at them. He has had, similar to how Xavier really changed his game and went off and started averaging 18 points. It wasn't quite there yesterday, but Trace Jackson Davis has just been a constant. And it's like when people started questioning his All-American and all that stuff, he took it personally and got back into the game, basically.
Well, part of me wonders whether, and he kind of alluded to it in Indianapolis a little bit, but when he got hurt against Nebraska, I wonder whether there was a 2 or 3 week stretch when he played 100%, but didn't say much about it. He seems to be a little bit more mobile now, and the way we saw the way he attacked Kofi Coburn and Hunter Dickinson, that first step. He's not going to muscle those guys. But he is quick enough that he can get by them and drive by them and hit those reverse layups or get free for those lob dunks. And he's showing it right now. He's showing the athletic ability that is his calling.
And Indiana has a shot in his game. I guess I'm wondering how much of the fatigue factor is going to really play into this game.
It's a fair question. They're going to have to use some depth. I would say today it's going to be mainly just get your legs back. They got to go, I think, though, to the arena for a public practice, right? And media responsibilities. And
do you have any idea what that time that is? Because we haven't seen it yet.
No, I haven't. I'll have to look, and if I see it, I'll try and text it to you. Probably be this afternoon. Not only that, I mean, they even got they didn't even get the last game of the night. They got the last game of the night in Portland's UCLA. Indiana played so even a couple of extra hours.
Oh, that would have been too much to ask of the NCAA.
Well, at least they didn't get the noon game.
There's shocked. Where are you going this weekend? I know there's so much going on. Where are you going to be?
I'm tentatively scheduled to go up to Indy tomorrow to watch Kentucky. They're going to play St. Peter's. But with the stuff going on, Louisville seems to be, moving towards hiring a coach. Don't know. We've also got Louisville women here playing on Friday night, and women are playing if both teams win a game that play Kentucky. Would that be play Saturday, Monday?
I think they do.
Okay. So I'm not coming to Portland. How many other media people were on your flight?
There were about 5 of us.
Where'd you fly, to Dayton?
No, out of Indianapolis to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then on to Portland.
So when did you drive to Indianapolis?
About 2:45 in the morning from Dayton.
So you haven't slept at all?
Nope. But I'm not playing it tomorrow, so I'll be all right. Like Mike Woodson always says, I can't say it, but I almost said it.
He uses the S word. Wow.
Very, very fun. Very
not
fun.
A lot of nonstops to Portland, huh?
Unfortunately not, and they're not inexpensive either. They could not have put Indiana in a worse, more expensive, harder to get to place than what they did. It's not drivable. It's hard even to fly to. It's expensive as hell to fly to. They did them zero favors.
Yeah, as I remember, I was there in 2012 when they played up there. The airport's kind of a hike out from downtown.
I was wondering.
I remember it was maybe like a 20-minute drive from downtown. Downtown Portland's kind of a neat place. It hasn't been, the safest place the last few years, but kind of an interesting place. And you got to go to Voodoo Donuts. That's the place called Voodoo Donuts.
Voodoo Donuts. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I could use some Voodoo Donuts right now. I can promise you that. I'm starving. Rick, I can't thank you enough. As always, man, make sure you follow Rick with WDRB.com. He's got complete coverage of all of college basketball. I appreciate you, man.
All right.
Me too. Thank you, buddy. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. #1 for a reason. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're visiting...
Man, is there any way I can go?
Well, I was going to ask, are they already boarding your plane?
I think they've started it, but Dale Davis
what I was
still
gonna
sitting there,
let me look.
I just need to go over and get a breakfast sandwich because I'm going to be 4 hours and not even 4 more hours.
Come back and set up. When I say come back from no, don't leave for a second. Set up when we come back from this next segment. I'm going to go ahead and do the post game show segment, and then you can go do what you got to do. Just set it up for me that when you come back, just introduce it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How much time do we have right now left?
2.5 minutes.
Okay.
Or I can set it up. If you want to go ahead, I'll set it up. It's all good.
Well, I need to say something, I guess. Boy, that's an ugly look.
It's right when you join.
That's why I said it's an ugly look.
But I am going to be starting with the music bit, so I'm going to remove this real quick because we'll come back with the music first.
What do you want me to do? What do you want me to say?
Just say in case you missed our post-game show with Charlie Miller.
Gotcha.
That kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And then if you want to be done after that, that's totally fine. I'll see how much time we have.
I don't have a choice. I gotta go. I'm just hoping to get some food before
you're fine. Plane. Just set it up. I'll play that, and then I'll try and fill whatever time I have left.
Done an excellent job.
I'm glad everything's gone pretty seamless this morning. I'm glad Dustin was able to jump on.
Not a lot of chatter today.
On the
normally,
chat room? On the 84 Honda hotline? Oh.
No, just us. Normally just talking all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're just exhausted, I'm sure. 40 seconds. All right. Going to come back from break.
Hi, I'm Kyle Brinker from Brinker's Jewelers. They wouldn't be surprised with a one-of-a-kind proposal in a little green box from Brinker's Jewelers, where every one of our diamonds are being selected by an owner of the company. That means every single diamond has to meet a Brinker standard on beauty and value. So if you're planning on getting engaged, your engagement ring needs to come in that little green box from Brinker's Jewelers, voted the best jewelry store 9 years in a row by Evansville Living Magazine and the Readers, located at the corner of Green River Road and the Wood Expressway, or online at BrinkersJewelers.com.
This segment is brought to you by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Wednesday. I'm at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Annex in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the airport, on en route to Portland. And there, as you can see, that's Dale Davis walking behind me, tapping me on the shoulder. So that tells me he's about to go low. So thank you guys so much. I can't thank everybody. Dustin Schutte, Rick Bozich, Kyle Neddenriep, John did an outstanding job today. Most importantly, thank you guys. If you missed part of the postgame show last night, here's Charlie Miller, and that I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate you. And we will see you in Portland. And until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Look who's butting in. It's our old buddy.
Whew, man.
Awesome. Got a suit on over there.
Oh, man, guys. It's NCAA, bro. We got
Nice.
We got to spiff it up. Got to spiff it up, man.
I like it.
Yeah, I bet I'm not wearing this in about 2 hours heading to Indianapolis to get on that plane. Indiana Sports now to be heading to Portland. I don't know if it's fortunate. I guess it's fortunate to be heading to Portland.
Yeah.
This game was Las Vegas always has it right. Indiana was only a 4-point favorite in this game, and they just know, man. I know I've missed a lot with you guys, but what did you see was the difference in Indiana's? Was it just simply missing shots? But they seemed to change their offense for this game a little bit. They weren't attacking like they normally were. They were through Trace Jackson Davis, of course, but it just seemed like they were just off.
Well, I was talking about that earlier. This kind of was a game where we played our style of play. It wasn't, I'm not even going to, it was an ugly game. I just thought it was a game that, your dominant scorer, your best scorer scored the ball at a high clip. Your shooters didn't really relieve any pressure because there really wasn't any pressure relief. But then you had big play from Geronimo that typically we get from Race. But you had somebody step up. Xavier wasn't really getting downhill. But I was telling John, we're in the locker room, this is just saying, hey, X, hey, Miller, hey, Parker, get ready for next game. This is not one of those okay, you guys were off. You shot 2 for 13 from 3-point line. No, you're good. We won. We did what we had to do playing game. Let's get ready to go tomorrow to Portland, get our minds ready for St. Mary's, and lock in on the scouting report to play. So, I felt confident, Jim, the whole time, to be honest with you. I don't know why. I just felt from the tip-off, this is our game. We're going to win this game. You got 2 guys who scored a ball at high clip for Wyoming, but that's not going to be enough to beat us.
No, and now they go off and play a St. Mary's team who, not that I want to just ignore this game, I guess it should stick. But first of all, Trace Jackson Davis, a lot of doubts toward the middle end of the season, questioning his All-American status, and then we saw him what he did during the Big Ten tournament, and that play continued here tonight. They had no answer for him whatsoever. Now, Ike was a problem, or Ike, however you say his name. I don't know. He was a bit of a problem, but Maldonado, they did a great job. Parker Stewart did a good job because there were several times where they were just trying to get him to go one-on-one with Parker Stewart under the basket.
That's what I'm saying.
He stopped him most of the time. I remember he scored once, but he did a great – I got to give him credit. He did a great job on him.
And that's why, for me, it won't make the stat sheet, but that was the difference on Parker getting shots. I'm expanding so much on the defensive side. Forget that. I'm stopping one of their second best scorers. I'm making it tough for that guy to score. So to me, I think that was a big difference.
Absolutely. And of course, Race Thompson, normally a bigger part of things, but got into a little foul trouble tonight, but it wasn't there. But man, they've got to get the shooting thing. They just can't do that. I mean, it was fortunate that they were playing a Wyoming team because they were long stretches where they weren't scoring, and they turned Wyoming over 13 times in the first half. But we're only up 5. That's a little scary, but it's a win in the NCAA tournament, and anybody can beat anybody this thing, and that's why they play the games. So looking forward now to going out to Portland to see them play a very talented St. Mary's team, a team that plays the West Coast Conference with Gonzaga. And that's probably about the only team that Gonzaga really plays during the conference season.
Mm-hmm. But this to me is what I was also telling John earlier. What you've done to not, to go back, but what they've done over the last 3 games, that's kind of helped them, I think, prepared them to play like they played tonight. And now you win after that devastating loss against Iowa. Now you take that momentum where I think focus and concentration will be a little higher, pay attention to the details will be a little higher. Those guys get locked in, Parker, Miller. I think Xavier's gonna be back to where he's playing. A little jitters, nerves, it happens to everybody, but it really didn't hurt you tonight. It didn't hurt you offensively.
Looking over at Trace Jackson Davis, 29 points, man, 10 of 16, 9 of 11 at the free throw line. 9 of 11 at the free throw line. How many times last season was he just abysmal at the free throw line, just killing it? And now he's done a hell of a job improving that.
Man, that's the difference of coaching, though. I mean, I'm not nothing against Coach Miller, man, but that's mindset, culture, bought in. Those guys are committed. That's a difference. I mean, that's a huge difference.
Indiana 2 of 13 behind the 3-point line tonight, Charlie. I don't think they can do that in the NCAA tournament and beat a team like St. Mary's.
No, you can't go. That's what I'm saying. And you can't have that be locker room talk, tight closeouts. Those guys aren't going to shoot the ball. You can't have that. You got to be able to knock down some shots. And, you hope that they game plan for sagging, going to screens and we start knocking down shots to get some good momentum.
Miller Kopp played 21 minutes, didn't score, only took 2 shots. So it seems like he was either in there more to facilitate or Wyoming just did not allow that to open up. But he's not – they could sure use that's one of the shooters. So that's one of the big problems was coming from. And Parker Stewart, like I said, he played great defense, so not going to get on him too much. He played 37 minutes. 37 minutes. So that's why Mike Woodson had him out there. And he scores only 4 points. He only took 6 shots, too. So he wasn't shooting the ball a lot. He was more focusing on defense.
Well, the shot he made, that mid-range shot, I think is a good counter for him. When they run you off the line, that 3-point line, a good one dribble, solid pull-up, he knocks that shot down to me. That's the shot I think he needs to focus on as a counter, as almost a bait. Bait and switch. I show you a 3, you come up, I pull up on that mid-range. Now guess what you can't do? You can't sag and help against Trace, right? And I think that's going to be the biggest difference next game. If you can figure out how to get those guys, Miller and Parker, get them going to really open up, not being able to double team. I mean, we might be talking again post game against St. Mary's. Like, wow, another win.
And I know that it is a lot to ask this team to play 3 tough games in the Big Ten tournament, then turn around and come here a few days afterwards. And now they're probably already close to being ferried to a plane right now. I mean, they do that stuff quick. I wish I was on there with them. It saved me some time. But how, as a former player, this is a lot to ask. They're going to be in Portland tomorrow for pressers, practice, and then play on Thursday. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying, as a player, how do you get past that? You got to do it. I mean, it's like Michigan. Michigan won the Big Ten tournament a few years ago, and they had that plane wreck. And I think they played all the way. Weren't they in the first? Didn't they play the first day? I think. Right. That thing. Right. So it's not like Woody says it all the time. Man, they're 19, 20 years old.
Right, and they're not thinking twice about it. But the manifest, the itinerary is already made. Hey, we lose. We're going back tomorrow morning anyway. You're not hopping back. I mean, it's only a couple hour flight. I can only believe in Dayton, but you go back, you get as much celebration as you can right now on the bus, talking about it, to then get it out, because tomorrow, you get to relax a little bit, probably on that plane ride to Portland, and then when you get off that plane, you're right back at after the press news, after all that stuff. You've already broke down St. Mary's, film wise. You already done that.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of introducing that to the players, right?
Yeah.
Coaches they've already done that.
And you have to do that during the NCAA tournament anyway. Once you play that first game, if you've got another game coming back, so that's not as big an issue as just the being able to get rest on the plane and rest the legs.
And then hoping you get rest, because you're coming off of you just done something on a group that you hadn't done in 6 years.
How important was that, getting that done right there?
Oh man, that's why. Again, I don't know if we're talking enough about that, because it's just kind of like so much going on. They won the playing game. They lose a buzzer beater. It's like so much going on that you're like desensitized to. Wait a minute, we ain't gone in 6 years. Wait a minute, we just won a playing game. Wait a minute, we're on our way to Portland to play as a 12th seed. Whoa, like, huh? I mean, so it's like, I'm hoping that they're excited about this, and this is a big feat. This is a really big feat for those guys.
Absolutely.
To play. I mean, that's whatever happens from here, that's a really big feat. And what they've done the last 4 or 5 games has been tremendous.
I don't bring this up to get ahead of ourselves. Tim points out that if Indiana were to make the Sweet 16, they could be playing Kentucky. Ironically, the last win they had in the NCAA tournament, 2016, was over Kentucky. So, little irony there. And the NCAA always does a great job of producing ironic matches. They are the matchmaker, man. They just are.
It would be in the Elite Eight. We brought that up earlier. They're on the
Okay.
other side of just to clarify that.
Well, yeah, but actually, I was just more importantly talking about that was Indiana's last win was over Kentucky.
Yeah, man.
North Carolina.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing to know Chris Reynolds now is a part of the NCAA committee. Obviously, Chris Reynolds, former player at Indiana sports. I think he's the athletic director at Bradley. I saw him on TV on the Selection Sunday. So, it's pretty cool to know, again, our hands on this, but yet to see us back in the spot like this is pretty cool.
And I think that, I saw a lot of comments tonight on Twitter during the game, and it was like, boy, what have you done for me lately? Because it was back to bang, 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 bang. And I'm like, man, it's just – I haven't played an NCAA tournament game, but you have, and it's just different. It doesn't matter who you're playing, because we've seen it happen so many times. Why is that, Charlie? Why? And I know anybody could be anybody in this, but why is it that a team like Indiana, who's pretty decent and has competed very well in the Big Ten, but they got taken, to the end by a team from Wyoming?
Well, again, you don't know each other. I mean, you're almost playing like this is a third season. It's almost like a preseason, because you don't know each other. You're trying to also digest. Think about this. You're trying to digest a lot of information, and you're cramming it. It is what it is. Wyoming's best players, the best scorers, their deficiencies, their go-tos. If you're taking any notes on that, you watch a film on it. You got a scout team doing things that Wyoming's doing. And now you get a chance to play it. It's one thing to look at it on paper. Now you got to make those adjustments in the game, and it's just not the same. And you start making in-game live action adjustments. So it's a different animal. Playing against St. Mary, so what, they play against Gonzaga, they're gonna be shocked, right? They're gonna be shocked when they play against us. Charlie, I told my mom, no more prank calls.
I think actually because of this one before that, he said that if Indiana were to make the Sweet 16, he's going streak into the quad.
Oh, wow.
Little throwback to I can't think of the movie. Anyway.
Old school.
There you go. Will Ferrell, yeah. Come on, honey, they're all doing it. Yeah, right. We interrupted you.
No, you're fine. No, I just feel it's different, and now again, scouting for, St. Mary's, right? You're not going to really practice too much tomorrow. You're going to walk through a lot of actions. So, now you're going to have to face it real time and make adjustments. Maybe a first quarter timeout or first half timeout to really see, okay, here's what they do. We got to make that adjustment right now. This going off film is tough.
And how many times have people watch the NCAA tournament team, and I don't care what seed it is, and it goes down to the wire. It's about to start happening. Turn your TVs on Thursday. You're going to see upsets Thursday. I promise you. So why they played poorly, but they just didn't hit shots really. I don't know that did they play poorly or just not hit shots, and it was just a bad match. I don't know if it's bad matchup, but either they didn't have the matchup set correctly.
Yeah, we just missed shots. We didn't take enough to really make them, and we missed a lot of shots. They missed a lot of shots too, right? They missed a ton of shots.
Dude, both teams were horrible. I know. I sent out a tweet,
and to me, your top scorers, not your best players, your top scorers are the I would say 3 players showed up more than anything. Geronimo helped us. It was Maldonado. It was EK. They're 50% of Wyoming's offense every game. And then you had Trace that typically scores 20 plus. Only person who I would say was off was Xavier. He really didn't score the ball at a good clip today. So it was just one of those games. But again, to me, the saving grace was Geronimo. He helped big time.
I think the stats is actually wrong. Or stat sheet that the official stat sheet, it has Indiana as being 26 of 62 from the field, hitting 42%, which that's not correct. But Wyoming hits 20 of 46 for 43%. So both teams got the percentage up, but not in the 3-point shooting. And Indiana, again, like I said, 2 of 13. Wyoming with a little bump there, but Indiana just too much inside. They just could not stop anything Indiana had.
Yeah, and that's going to be the difference maker.
But that's not going to be a problem, though. I mean, we're jumping ahead now, but why not?
Well,
if you're talking about Gonzaga, that'll be a problem.
Well, think about this too. Wyoming probably didn't game plan for Geronimo.
Oh no!
See my point? Like that's a big deal. Not to go back. I remember we played a game.
Like the Purdue game. It's like the Purdue game when Trace Jackson Davis spent most of his time on the bench.
You didn't game plan for him, and I think that was the biggest difference. You let him run wild, and he is a great player around the rim. And then he had confidence, knocked down that big 3-point shot. It was all needed, right? So now he's gonna get game plan for it. Because some second chance opportunities, as athletic as he is, now he's going to be game plan.
And to have a guy like that come off the bench, or they keep saying next man up, and they keep getting somebody to do something. Right. That is one of the most important things that any team can have, because you have to have faith in the guys and it not be Trace Jackson Davis every time, or not be Xavier every time. It's got to be somebody else who can step up, and whether it's Miller Kopp in the next game or Parker Stewart with more defense and somebody hits some shots, but it's somebody that has to continue to step up, because they're going to be game planning for Trace Jackson Davis, I promise you.
Yeah, and you got it. I mean, again, one of the things I can say, just if I'm game planning against Indiana, we had a better start the second half this game. I'm game planning, hey, look, they're not really a good team coming out. You got to really take it to them in the first 5 minutes of the second half. So I think it's about winning both halves. And then again, your guys who typically contribute from 3-point lane They gotta make shots. We gotta take them. We didn't take enough to miss. We really did. We gotta take more shots. Come on,
Steve asked if do you need the players think about that so much the first time in 6 years? I don't think they think of it. Trust me, that's one of the first things that Trace Jackson Davis talked about, how important it was for him to be a part of getting Indiana back into the NCAA tournament. So it is of grave importance. And hell yes, as much as time as these guys spend on social media, hell yes, they're thinking about it because
you don't
it's all out there.
That group. You don't want to be a part of that group that again say, hey, look, I played here 4 years, 3 years, and we didn't go. You don't want to be part of that.
Nope. So, and now they get to continue.
They get it exactly, and you won a crucial game. And again, I'm not going to say, this is enough, but like, man, this was this gravy? Right? Was this the steak? What is this? Right? So I'm happy for those guys.
Got to represent, Brian. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, this was a big win for the program, for Indiana, for recruiting, for so many things for this program. For Mike Woodson, I hate to mention it, but today is the 1 year anniversary when Indiana fired Archie Miller. And it's the day they get back into the NCAA tournament and win. It's just irony. I mean, it's ironic. It doesn't mean anything other than the irony, and we're in Dayton, of all places. So it's kind of hard not to mention that.
Yeah.
So moving forward now, on to Portland. I'll be on a plane in about 6 hours.
Yeah, man. So, well, now, look, I know you got to drive, man. Hopefully, just get there safely and.
Oh yeah. Luckily, I'm not driving to Portland. No, luckily, I'm not driving to Portland.
Yeah. That's right.
I've done that before. That's no fun. Friends used to live in Portland. Well, you know what? We might as well go ahead and wrap it up because hopefully we're going to have more to do in 2 days. And we'll be able to do this again, Charlie.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you, man. You're always the best, man. Looking forward to it as always. I think thanks to John, of course, for getting this thing started. And most importantly, big thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. Of course, don't forget about our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant. Make sure you stop by there in Bloomington and check them out. We've got plenty more hopefully coming up this week. I'll be back tomorrow morning to do the show. I forgot about that, too. So Indiana Sports Beat Radio on tomorrow morning somehow. From the plane or wherever. Get it figured out, man. But we're cutting it off now. I cannot thank you guys enough. Like I said, been a great night here at University of Dayton Arena in Indiana. Now on to Portland, Oregon to play St. Mary's in, I guess, the opening round of the NCAA. I don't know what they say anymore. It's
right.
Second round. I don't even know what they call it anymore.
Right.
First round to me. But Charlie, I thank you, brother, and we'll see you soon.
I appreciate you guys, man.
Thank you. And
we'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
All right. I'm going to close things out with about, 6 or 7 minutes when we come back. Let me go ahead and remove this screen share. I got to get my camera back on. There we go. Let's see. And thanks for bearing with us this morning, guys. It's been fun. Thankfully for Dustin at the beginning as well, because it puts a lot of stress off of me. And we're going to hit the quick topics I'm going to hit that I saw some of you commenting on when we come back. Tony, your question about the ball, it's interesting. I don't know anything about that, but it is interesting. And then I'm going to pull up. Ian brought up the Big Ten matchups in the Big Ten tournament. So I'm going to take a look at those and maybe give you my predictions for each one. Excuse me. Let's see. You can't sort by conference in the NCAA tournament on ESPN for some reason, which is annoying. Maybe I just pull up a physical bracket. It's 2021. There we go. Here's a bracket. What we got? 50 seconds. I wish I had all the Big Ten matchups in one place, so I'm not sitting here looking for each one because I can't think of all of them off the top of my head. The first one, obviously, tonight, Rutgers, Notre Dame, if you just include Indiana, but all right, let's get this going. If y'all can hear my dog barking in the background, nothing new there. Here we go.
We're on this station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Wrapping it up here with the last 4 or 5 minutes of the show. Thanks for sticking with us this morning. We had a lot of great guests on to help us get through the all the crazy stuff going on. Jim was on a plane during the first part of the show. Obviously, big thanks to Dustin Schutte for helping us get through those first couple of segments. Obviously, thanks to Kyle Neddenriep for giving us his IHSAA tournament update. And then we didn't have DJ today. We'll have Derek Jackson on tomorrow. He may be regularly on Thursdays from now on. We'll have to see about that. And then, obviously, Rick Bozich, our good friend from down in Louisville, close to where I live. I mean, essentially where I live. I'm not directly in Louisville, but I'm close enough to where it's the closest major city near me, obviously. So, but big thanks to everybody then. I want to get into a comment that somebody mentioned, that Ian mentioned. He wanted me to give my, predictions on all of the Big Ten first-round games or first-round games involving Big Ten teams. And the first one, obviously, we already had Indiana and Wyoming last night. Tonight, we have Rutgers and Notre Dame. And obviously, with it being a first 4 game, it's kind of a toss-up. You never really know who's going to win some of these first 4 games. Dustin or somebody made a really good point earlier for Rutgers and how streaky they are. And you've got Ron Harper Jr. and Geo Baker. So, but Notre Dame also has Blake Wesley and Goodwin or Godwin. I can't think of his last name, but whoever gets hot in that game, I would say wins. I don't know if it's going to be Rutgers and Notre Dame, but I tend to lean towards Notre Dame just for some reason. Let's see. Other games we've got in the first round for Big Ten teams. We've got Michigan State and Davidson. I think Michigan State shouldn't have much of a problem with that one. Davidson hasn't won a tournament game since Steph Curry was there, which was, I don't know how many years, but it's been a while, even though Davidson is still a decent power in their conference. Let's see. So I'm going with Michigan State in that game. After that, what do we got? Let's see. Purdue and Yale. Don't know much about Yale, but you would hope that Purdue can get out of the first round for the first time since, I don't know, but they obviously had that debacle last year, losing to North Texas, a game they had no business losing last year. So I think Purdue should be able to find their way out of that one. Let's move on. We got Wisconsin and Colgate. Again, Colgate, a team I don't know much about. If Wisconsin takes care of business, then it should be a no-brainer. Wisconsin should win that game. Iowa, Richmond, 5-12 matchup. We heard Dustin talk about earlier. He's not really sure about Iowa right now. Maybe not necessarily in the Richmond game, but in the game after, if they escape Richmond against Providence or South Dakota State. So, but I think Iowa will beat Richmond in that one. How many more we got? got to wrap this up here shortly. Ohio State, Loyola Chicago. That's an upset I think I have. I took Loyola Chicago on that one. I know it's probably pretty popular to do that considering what they've done in the past, and Ohio State isn't the most consistent team right now. Another one that could be close, Colorado State and Michigan. I don't remember who I chose in that one, but right now I'm leaning toward Michigan. I don't remember if that's what I put initially, though. But I'm the kind of person, when I fill out a bracket, I don't typically go away from my initial picks. I try to keep what I originally chose. And then lastly, I do believe this is the last Big Ten game in the first round. Illinois and Chattanooga, a very popular upset pick. Again, a team I don't know a lot about, as it is with a lot of these first-round games. I chose Illinois to come out of this game, but I did choose Houston to upset Illinois in the following round. So there you have it. Those are my picks for each Big Ten team. And then obviously Indiana's got St. Mary's, and I got Indiana actually winning that one. So we'll see if Indiana can get it done. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks again for listening to me a little bit more than you normally do this morning, guys, or this afternoon if you're on radio, obviously. But we will see you again tomorrow. Hopefully Jim gets some sleep. We'll have our usuals on for tomorrow, except Dustin. He's going to be on Friday. And then we're going to have Derek Jackson with us tomorrow as well. So thanks again, guys. Until tomorrow, we will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports